Hello, and welcome to this kickoff for Problem Gambling Awareness Month coming up in March. My name is Tana Russell, Assistant Director of the Evergreen Council on Problem Gambling. Last year, we released a video, you can watch it in our YouTube channel, with partners from the Division on Addiction giving an overview of Gambling Disorder Screening Day and a tutorial of their e-screener. Please feel free to check that out. Today, we'll be talking about gambling screens for tribal communities with a tribal focus, and we'll be having guests on to share their experience and things that they've learned over the years. As we bring in our guests, and I apologize if there are any kind of internet interruptions for us today that we've been working through to sort out. As we bring in our guests, I want to remind you that you can leave comments or questions for us to the guests that they can answer live. You can visit the blog where we already have resources linked there for you, some of the things we plan to talk about today. And if others come up or you want to share resources in the chat or the comment section, then we can add those later. You may see your comment or question come up on screen as this is live streamed to both Facebook and YouTube. And of course, we always ask that comments and engagement are positive. This is an uplifting environment, and it is also not confidential. So please only share what you are comfortable sharing and what is yours to share. We appreciate that. With that, welcome Sarah Sense Wilson with the Tulalip Tribes and Gary Cooper with the Yakima Tribes. Could you tell us a little bit about your work, what you do, and why you do it, why you enjoy it, and why this is important to you?
Go ahead, Sarah.
Hani, Yapi, Sarah Sense Wilson, Imachiapie, Ma Ogallala Lakota. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sarah Sense Wilson. I work for Tulalip Tribes Problem Gambling Program, and I serve as the coordinator here at the tribe Family Services. And I've been here for going on 8 years. And that in itself is interesting. It's crazy to say that because it doesn't really feel like it's been 8 years, but I really have enjoyed my time working here and have grown professionally over those years and really understanding the tribal community and developing relationships and networking within the tribe, and also with different departments here as well. I love the field of problem gambling. I've been in the field of addiction for 20 years now. And so 2 decades. And it's incredible, incredibly interesting work because there are things that are always evolving and changing. And as a counselor, we have to evolve and change along with those changes that are happening in the field. So it's it's been an interesting 20 years, in the addiction field. Thank you.
Thank you. And Gary?
Yeah, my name is Gary Cooper. I'm a substance use counselor and a problem gambling counselor. I've been in the field for about 14 years. Worked at a big residential place in Oregon for the start of my career, and I've been here with the Yakima Nation for the last 5 years, almost 5 years. And my connection to the tribe is my son-in-law and my grandchildren are Yakima. So my wife and I moved up here from Oregon to live and be with our children and our grandchildren.
Are you there?
So yeah, and I do this work because there was somebody sitting in this chair for me one day when I needed help. And so I'm just trying to give back a little of what I got early on. So.
Are you there?
Are you there? I don't know. Is there?
My phone.
The phone ringing.
Just ignoring it.
We're definitely here this morning. Excellent. And one thing I appreciate about the both of you is you have been champions in this field for community events and education to the community, and making gambling screens easily accessible and information about help resources for people. And you serve on varieties of committees and coalitions, and we just really appreciate your contributions to the field and to the clients. So thank you.
Mhm.
So to start us off, let's talk about what gambling screens are, right? There's a gambling disorder screening day nationally coming up March 8th. To you both, what do gambling screens mean to you? What are they? What do they do?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So, Tulalip Tribes, we're hosting we're calling it Positive Action. That's our slogan for National Problem Gambling Screening Day, which is on March 8th. And we're hosting that at the Tulalip Administrative Building. And so we did put a lot of thought into what screen we were going to utilize for this special event. And what we came up with is the brief bio gambling screen, which is it's a 4-question yes no screen. And part of our screening process is also having a space for their name, for their tribe, for their age and phone number if they want to fill that out. And so there's a lot of thought that goes into every aspect of every community event we do, and including like location, where we're hosting the event. Is it a centralized location? Is it a location that is going to garner some visibility? Is it a location that we're welcome to be at? Is it a location that is going to have a lot of traffic of people coming and going? And so we did choose the admin building 2 years ago, right as COVID hit. We had set a plan to do screening day at 2 locations, and we actually got shut down because of that early onset of quarantine. And so that was unfortunate. I think we collected a total of maybe 6 screens that day, because we actually did set up for maybe 15 minutes at the health clinic and at the admin building. And so just we were following that request that we not subject and put the community at risk. So we had to wait until now to do another event. And so everything that, even the advertisement that went into our planning for this, took into consideration a lot of things that I think, to me, are just naturally cultural sensitivity and responsiveness. So making sure that it's a positive slogan, making sure that it is the visual is something that is uplifting, making sure that the message is not one of angst or disease model or shaming, but more about, hey, we're having this fun event. Join us. We're going to have giveaway items for people that fill out the forms. We're also going to have invitation for the wellness court have their items and their brochures, and also our Narcan SUD program, available too, to share some. So that collaborative spirit is in nearly everything we do within the community.
Excellent. So it sounds like you guys have really thought really hard about how to make this as easy and smooth and fun and engaging. People can meet other people. You said the screening you chose is only 4 questions. It takes seconds to answer. They can put their contact info on it, so someone else will reach out to them to follow up with that. That's awesome, and it goes hand in hand with other SCD services.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's great. Uh, and Gary, anything you'd like to add? What do gambling screens mean for you, or how have you used them to help people get access to services?
Well, mostly I use them to just start the conversation, right? Um, People aren't used to thinking about problem gambling as a problem, and historically, it's been a cultural thing to do to come together and play the stick games and stuff like that. So it's been in the native history for a long time. However, the new forms of gambling don't have anything about community in them, right? So you sit at an initial machine and spend all your money. So they offer me that opportunity to bring up the conversation about is this a problem for you? And I don't usually focus on the money part of it. I usually focus on the time it takes away from their family, and that usually draws people in. I also do a lot of outreach when I can. Of course, COVID shut us down for a while, but I normally do 1 to 2 events a month, and might be as simple as just a walk run, for 4 hours on a Friday, or do a lot of dinners. I know Sarah does a lot of dinners too, and that really brings people in. So, and we're able to start that conversation. So, um, the we use the same screen that Sarah does, the brief biosocial gambling screen on screening day, and I'm going to be set up in the Legends Casino hotel lobby. So I'll be in a central location for the hotel, the gaming, and right behind it is the restaurant. So I decided this year to set up at dinner time, and it will be quite busy. So um, last year I was in the morning and I still had 100 and some people. So do the screen and ask stop and have conversations with me. Giving away T-shirts helps. So I give away a lot of T-shirts, and then screens as far as when they come to our office. We screen everybody that comes in here for substance use or gambling, and our youth program does too. So, but we use the SOGs, the South Oaks Gambling Screen, as part of their intake paperwork. So it raises the conversation there too. So.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So you get creative, use different tools for different purposes. But I think what you said about using it as kind of just a conversation starter is so important, because a lot of people like to talk about having fun gambling or winning, but then all of a sudden they're very quiet about the losses or the problems, right? And just giving someone permission to say, yeah, it hasn't been 100% positive. It has taken time away from my family, or there's been some arguments or whatever it is. I think giving people permission to be able to talk about that stuff without being judged for it and just have a conversation can go a long way, even just in helping people to decide, well, maybe I'll go less often, or I'll spend less money, or put some limits in place, or maybe I do want to seek some help or get some support, or I think that's really important. Now, as you said, some of these screening tools that are out there, and you can find all kinds of gambling screening tools on our website if you're interested in knowing. There's lots available, lots validated. We've got them in multiple languages, etc. But screenings can miss a lot, right? The beauty of just asking a few questions is it gives people a little bit to go on without taking much of their time. right? And giving them just a little bit of guidance. But they don't ask about very much. And when it comes to gambling related problems, it can be very broad and very vast. And a lot of gambling screens don't ask about if they're affected by someone else's gambling. Are they worried about someone else, etc.? So what are some follow-up questions that you might have, or conversations that you guys might find around this that come up after maybe some screening questions or other prompts?
So I would like to piggyback off of what was shared earlier, is that in going back to the screening day and thinking about incentives and ways of engaging people that come over, to out of curiosity to see what we're doing. And one of the things that we decided on doing this year is to give away these baby smudge kits, and they're really sweet little sage sweetgrass, with a shell, and then they're wrapped in our problem gambling scarf. If I could open it, I just want to share it real quick, just because, again, when we talk about culturally responsive support services and thoughtfulness that goes into every aspect of what we're doing, these are maybe small things to some people, but I think when we are out in the community and connecting with tribal members, that they see that there's attention and there's effort and that there's a consideration to who they are, as people. And these are like practical gift items that really support holistic wellness and health. And then we also look at what vendors in the tribal community we can work with to support the economy, to support, raising and elevating, what they're doing too. So we are also giving out popcorn that is from Jared's Corner, and he has the most amazing popcorn I've ever had, to be honest. And so we're working with him to hand out for people that complete the surveys. And it is conversation starting, in interactions, that we have these opportunities when we do events, and giving out our cards and brochures. And, usually there's not these deep conversations happening right at the table, but it happens rarely, but usually it's oh, my aunt has a problem, or oh, my aunt or my grandma or my somebody in their family that they've identified would benefit from our services. And we just keep that conversation open and light and friendly, and keeping ourselves as approachable as possible, and finding any opportunity to just encourage people to reach out to us, even if it's just for consultation, even if it's just to ask a couple questions in private. And so I think that that's really important, and keeping our expectations reasonable around doing these events, that we're not going out there thinking we're going to somehow wrangle in clients. I don't look at it like that. I look at it more as we're out there to share, inform, participate in community building, doing what we can to bring health, wellness, and then visibility to the issue of problem gambling. So I don't know. I might have way out there, like.
I love it.
Yeah. The other, I've been informed that I have to say hello to my grandson who's watching. So hello, Kakoja. Love you, grandma.
I love it. I think it really speaks to how much thoughtfulness and heart and care goes into this work, right? And so often a person might have a conversation, a very casual conversation about gambling or problem gambling that can help plant a seed. And 6 months later,
Yeah.
they or someone they know gets the help that they need, right? You just never know. You just never know. But you want to make sure help is available to everyone. And I love how you bundled the baby sage kit in the tribal scarf. I mean, talk about a way to help connect with people and let them know I'm here for you. Our services are available to you. This is from tribal members for tribal members. Well, everybody really. But I love that thoughtfulness. I love it. Oh, thank you, Eric Johnson. I am very glad this presentation is happening too, and that Sarah and Gary were willing to donate their time to be here and share their experiences with us today. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
And while we're on the topic of having these kind of compassionate conversations, no real agenda in mind, it sounds like, just to help people have a place to talk about whatever it is around gambling or problem gambling they want to talk about, right? But I think sometimes people have, there's a lot of shame that can come with having gambling related problems and feeling like, how come I can't control it to the degree that I want to see myself controlling it? There can be a lot of shame there. There can be a lot of reservations about talking about this. Do you guys have any tips on how to have these conversations to talk about gambling related problems? Gary, you talked about maybe not the money so much, but that can be part of it. And that is a concern for some, but for others, it's the time.
Yeah.
The time factor from their family or whatnot. Any tips you guys have on having these conversations without making this awkward or intrusive or shaming? This is just people's lives.
Right. Well, I try to use a lot of humor in my recovery and my treatment and everything I do, actually. And I find people respond to that really well. I try to number one, I try to normalize problem gambling, right? Because it's a new thing as opposed to substance use treatment's been around for a long time. But substance use treatment went through the same growing pains that problem gambling is going through now. So, trying to normalize it for them. I seek out information on other issues that they might be having to deal with, and maybe other programs that they're already connected to, and then we just say, well, let's just add this in as a little more help, right? And it doesn't have to be a big thing. We'll just come on in and we'll have a conversation and see if I can help you, and because the other programs like behavioral health and our addictions program, and Knock the Wee Show, which is our children's program, children and family program, they all know that those are there, and there's quite a few people that can help. It's just me in my problem gambling program, so I really have to get out there and normalize this thing for people so that they want to seek help and take the shame out of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's critical, is the normalizing and using humor, using those different approaches that are not confrontational, that are not just real black and white. I think in my early days when I learned, when I was starting off as CDP work, it was very abstinence based only, and so what I've had to sort of shift my thinking around working in this field of problem gambling as more looking at harm reduction and looking at it in terms of meeting people where they're at and adjusting my counseling approach to support that, and to not not further alienate people if they're not ready to completely stop gambling. And then there's those that really desire to stop completely because they recognize their own efforts have not worked, have failed, and they are experiencing severe consequences. What I've seen in tribal communities is that there is that harm reduction and meeting people where they're at has been the most productive, and keeping that non-judgmental, keeping my own maybe Western trained idea of what recovery looks like. Put that aside and look at that person as an individual and support them in what their goals are, what their desire is. Another thing that we do, and my colleague Robin Johnson is really amazing in her work in supporting problem gambling services here, is that we go into the treatment groups and we do presentations. And so that's another way for us to connect and educate and inform and give information about, hey, we're here, this is our program, if you're interested in any services. Because especially with COVID and Zoom and doing everything virtually, is that it's a lot harder to make those connections with clients. And so it's been really helpful to do that. And we've had really great feedback from people. And again, we did incentives, and we did the screening, and we said, hey, if you do the screening, virtually we have gifts down here at Family Services. Come down and set up a time and pick up your gift. And so they, that always excites people to have a gift. And so it's and then what Gary was saying also is just talking about we're not anti-gambling, and that's something that I always preface my presentations with, is that we're here as a support service to help wherever you're at, in your with maybe wanting or just being curious about if you have a problem, and also discussing that tribal people gambled since time immemorial. Gambling's not new in our communities. What is new is the form of gambling that is prevalent among a lot of people that have problem gambling. And so just making that distinction is that we understand that gambling is something that we do, it just is. And also, here's some statistics and here's some information about what happens, when there's problems. And it's always amazing when we talk about gambling. We have a lot of people that are surprised to hear or even talk about like bingo as being gambling. It's like, actually, it is gambling. Mm-hmm. Or 50-50, those were real popular for a while on Facebook, especially during quarantine. I was seeing all kinds of my peers and fellow tribal people doing, gambling virtually. And, it's just, it's part of the culture. Again, I think giving the message that we're not judging, we're here to offer education and support.
Excellent. I love this. And Eric is giving Gary some kudos here. He says Gary does movies on problem gambling, which packed out the house at Yakima Nation Theater. That's a good conversation starter to reach the masses. I love it. Getting creative, reaching out to people. And I'm really sensing the trend here, while you guys are really working to go outside the treatment office, right? And the standard clinical setting, right? To reach people and provide education and give them an opportunity to ask you questions. You're also, very encouraging of people to seek you out, call them up, reach out to someone if they want to. That can be very difficult for people. So I really appreciate you guys making efforts, and everybody else around the state I want to give kudos to as well, because we've got so many amazing people in our state and across the country doing this work to try to get the message out there. But we can't be everywhere at once or get the message to everyone who needs it. So we really love when other people spread the word to their family or friends or loved ones, who then help them to reach out and get the help that they need, which is really, really important. And Gary, Eric wants you to tell people about a t-shirt.
So t-shirts are really popular around here. And it's kind of a thing that we, at most of our events, the incentive is a different t-shirt, right? And so, and we try to make those, and so they look nice and they convey a message that's helpful, right? And I eat lunch at the Legends Casino quite often with the other people here, and I always take my coat off outside and have my problem gambling shirt on when I walk in the casino. So, but yeah, so we do a lot of t-shirts at events, especially the runs and the run walks that I do. I do those with in collaboration with our diabetes program, which is called the Wakishvi program. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of, gearing people, if they're going to take care of this, they might want to start taking care of their health as well, because exercise can be a huge motivator to stay clean and sober, or stay, clean from gambling or anything. So I'm a big proponent of people getting out and moving. So yeah, so the t-shirts are pretty awesome.
I love that. And I'm glad you brought up the health topic, because I feel like that's kind of where a lot of this initial conversation falls, is in the realm of just helping people to have information and tools and resources to make their own healthy choices, right? It can be very, like for diet example, it can be very hard to make healthy food choices if you don't understand, if you've never been taught how to read these very complex nutrition labels and ingredients list, or which kinds of foods are healthy for you, your body type, your age, your health conditions, etc. And having information on that can help equip people to make their own choices that they are happy to make for themselves, right? That meet their own goals. And for gambling, it can be a lot of the same, giving people some education and tools and guidelines so that they can then go on and make their own decisions about what role gambling is or is not going to play in their life, how much time, how much money, what's the environment, what's my relationship with that and with my family. And so I'm really glad you brought that up, because it's kind of the same idea, just helping to equip people to make healthy choices for themselves and their own life and their own goals.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And lastly, what kind of help services are available to tribal members and their loved ones? So we've talked about this community aspect and this family involvement, that this affects the family as well and other people are concerned. What kinds of help services are available?
Yeah, Followup Family Services, I would say that the tribe is extremely progressive in that they are open to serving non-native and native population. So anyone within Snohomish County, we can provide services for, and we do have a pretty vast selection of activities and programs and services for a community. So we do clinical assessments and evaluations. We have family counseling. We do couples counseling. We also do individual. We have historically done monthly family night or family and friends night. We've taken a couple month break on that. We also have treatment groups with intensive phase and then aftercare. We also have a women's healing circle group, and then consultations, referrals, and then the education and the outreach. And we also have historically led in doing the wellness conference here in Tulalip, which is usually held at the resort. And every year we have a theme, and we bring in support from the youth council in really directing a lot of that work as well. Like, what do they want to see? What are their goals for a wellness conference? What are things that they feel would be beneficial in supporting, their health and wellness? And I think that, like you said, culturally, that's responsive in looking at sort of that bigger context of what is holistic wellness and health within community, and how does gambling fit in with that. And if there's discrepancies, or if there is conflict there, then obviously to be addressed and looked at. And we do a lot of work with the youth council. We have historically done work with the elders as well. And whenever there's a community event, we make an effort to be part of that as well.
Yeah, so over here, we, Yakima Nation too has a whole list of human services that they offer. So it's the behavioral health. I mentioned the Wakishwi program. It's diabetes and gym fitness club. There's just a vocational rehab. It's right here next to us, and we just have a ton of stuff that a lot of people just don't know where to find us. And before COVID hit, Eric Johnson, the guy that left the comments, he's our clinical supervisor, and we were starting to put together a map of all the services. So if somebody came here, we could hand them the map and circle the next place for them to go, right? Because sometimes we just assume that people know how to access these programs, and and they don't. So we have to do that problem solving for them.
I love that. A map of services. That's so helpful. Our behavioral health services can do a lot. But you're right. Because of that, they can get a bit complicated. This program does this, and this program does this, and these two are over here, and this other one's over there. And so I love that, trying to help people learn what else they can access. And for those who are not in your neck of the woods, there is a Washington State problem gambling helpline. It's available 24/7. And so when someone calls it, they can get connected to any certified gambling counselor in their area, wherever they live in the state. And a lot of providers these days are doing telehealth services as well. So that may make some access available to people. There's, in addition to treatment and counseling and some of the other services you guys talked about, there's also other community level services that people can access. If people are familiar with the 12-step programs, there's one for gambling, which is Gamblers Anonymous and Gamma Non for those affected. You'd have to check their website to find out where their meetings are, if there's some near you. I do know a lot of virtual meetings started during the pandemic. If people are comfortable with that or prefer that as opposed to in-person social interactions, that can be available to people. There's groups on social media sites. I appreciate you guys talking about your community events, and I encourage people to look up providers in your area during March for Problem Gambling Awareness Month, because there's other community events going on across the state where people can come and get some education, meet some people, maybe get some food.
Right.
Networking is so important, and
So
finding.
important.
I know that Gary's part of our tribal coalition that we meet once a month as providers, and we have the great conversations about what people are doing in their communities, and how we can support each other, and where where they're finding success, or where they've noticed that things, that approaches that didn't work. Knowing that as well is really helpful. But yeah, I think as providers, networking is a resource, because I know Gary's referred people here to Tulalip, and we've had, our tribal people tend to, move in different communities. And so knowing those resources really well in a name can be extremely helpful in linking people to a lifeline. I know just the other day I walked through with a family member on a Zoom session how to access one of the websites that has virtual meetings that are happening around the world internationally. And I forget the name of it. I want to say it's Problem Gamblers and Families in Recovery. .com. It's a great resource for webinars, for meetings, for other materials that can be really helpful for recovery. And then also Evergreen Council for Problem Gambling. I mean, I feel like the website has, like, I don't know, it's amazing how much information you guys have that you can fit into that website. But webinars and all of your recording and brochures and tips, all of that is not just for providers, but it's for people who learn more about addiction or learn about recovery and where they fit in and where they might go. So your website is also a huge resource that we share out.
Well, thank you for that. There's been a lot of work going into it. Rob, who's behind the scenes, did just put the website you referenced in the comments for people. And I give 100% kudos to Rob and Kathy for their magic on the website. I don't speak website development language. Okay, so kudos to them for making it such a valuable resource, which we really have tried to put that on there, and to have information that is easy to find, easy to access and digest, and speaks to a variety of topics for different people's needs, and also helps to connect them to other resources that are out there, other agencies and providers. And there's just a plethora of stuff that's out there. However, you know how the internet works. You can find things that are not what you're looking for if you don't know what it is you're trying to find. So we try to put people in connections with the good resources, for sure. Excellent. So do either of you have any last messages you wanted to share for people in regard to any of this? Anything else you wanted to add you haven't had a chance to yet?
Well, I was hoping that that there was a way to show the flyer for our positive action screening date, and then was hoping also that there's a way to show our flyer for our big March event, which is March 26th. It is our yearly problem gambling awareness community event, and so that'll be happening on the 26th. And so I'm hoping anyways that Evergreen can find a way to post that somehow, some way. We have featuring our comedian Casey Nicholson, who is a tribal person, and so MC is is Natasha Gobin, and we'll have drumming and singing and amazing food. And so it's the title or the theme is Reclaiming Our Connections. So we want to invite everybody to come join us. It is our RSVP here at Tulalip.
Excellent. And while we can't share the flyers on this broadcast at the moment, they will be on our PGAM page, so people can find the flyer to those events there.
Thank you so much, Hannah. Thank you, the whole team of expertise at Council. Really appreciate you to share today.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you as well for asking us to do this.
Well, thank you for being willing to come live in a broadcast. I know as when you go into the field as counselors, this is not what you had in mind. So we appreciate you stepping out of your normal comfort zone to do this with us. So thank you very much.
Sure.
All right. Take care, everyone.